We done it. We're number 5 we got in at number 5 in the charts, in the UK charts. It never been done like that with this type of music or whatever. Yeah. So congratulations. Yeah. And then his next sentence was, I need this new single next week. Okay, yeah, one happy moment, like, yeah, and then it's like back to reality. So then they're like, can you make exactly the same one as that one? And I'm like, yeah, but nobody's waiting for exactly the same one. You need to do something else, which is still also cool. Yeah, I did 28 versions, 28, for them to come back to me and say, you know what, we're gonna take the first version. And then they forgot to pay me my royalties and all that. So on top of that, I had to sue them too. People think, oh, you have to be stupid, and then they're gonna mess with you. But even if you are well prepared, then they're still gonna mess with you. And I'm just giving the reality check, you know, the view behind the scene. Most people don't have the capacity to be famous, because it's hard to deal with fame. It's hard to deal with money. It's hard to deal with all these things. Look, if you're not happy poor, you're probably not going to be happy rich.
Christoph, thank you very much for joining me today. Or Ian, Ian Van Dahl. So, my first question is the name. I mean, is this obviously a stage name, Ian? Mm-hmm. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
And where did that come from?
I told this story actually many times. It's basically a Flemish song about Ian Van Dahl. So it's like a little kids tune, yeah, and it basically relates to an average show.
Okay,
you know, so it's an average boy. So, and I thought it was funny because, yeah, you know, you're an average boy trying to make it in the business, yeah.
No way.
So, and then Ian Van Dahl, I already had a project called DJ Jan, so I couldn't use Jan twice, so I changed it to Ian, and then I did it Van Dahl. I split it up, yeah, because it was normally one word. I split it up like you had the Paul van Dyk, Niels van Gogh, you know, it was popular around that time. So I put Jan Van Dahl, and then the Dahl normally in Dutch would be D-A-A-L, yeah, but then I wrote it D-A-H-L, like Roald Dahl.
Yeah.
So it sticks in the mind because people already know that, you know, that name. So, and then it was Ian Van Dahl. So,
can I ask you a question? Did you want to have a stage name or a name that wasn't Christoph? Were you always looking for something?
But I always do it. I've been doing music years before. Lots of people, yeah, people always think that Ian Van Dahl was like, it's my project or the one and only. But I've done like dozens of aliases and other projects. So,
really,
for example, and I always try to find some weird names. So, for example, one of my Eurodance projects is called Absalom. Yeah. And that's from basically the record label had a video store. And what I would do is I would wander in the video store trying to look for some cool names to use. And it was the movie Escape from Absalom.
No way.
So, and then I thought, Absalom, that's actually a nice name. And then in the Bible, yeah, it's a story about the, I think it's a prince or something, like a royal guy. And he has long hair. And he gets stuck in the tree, and then the birds pick his eyes out. Oh. So I was like, oh, that I have to use that one. I'm a bit in sadomaso. Sounds like
for lots of people who are watching, and we get lots of people watching, and we got lots of people listening on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. My name's Dexter, but mine's a nickname from music. My full name's Jonathan, and it was when I was at my university. I was on a set of decks, and I was really unsociable because I just loved spinning vinyl when I was younger, and I would never go out. And I wouldn't really go socializing down the pub. And my flatmate called me, "Get off the decks, Dexter." called me at once. He called me at once, and someone overheard,
Yeah.
and it stuck for the rest of my life.
Actually, it's a better explanation than what I thought it was. I thought you watched the cartoon back in the days.
Or even worse, the serial killer. It's Dexter the serial killer. So, where originally are you from?
Um, I was born in Belgium.
Yeah.
Like I'm not 100% Belgium. So my father is from the south of Belgium, so he speaks French, but he's originally from Greece. And my mom's from the north of Belgium, where they speak Flemish. Yeah, but then my grandmother was born in Libya, in Benghazi. So it's a bit of like a little mix of everything.
How many languages do you speak?
A couple of them.
You speak a lot, don't you?
Yeah. No, I can manage. I can manage.
Don't be shy. My missus speaks about 6. She's Croatian. So she speaks English,
Yeah,
Croatian, Italian, all the different types of Slavic
yes.
languages there are as well. Incredible linguists in this part of the world. And she's my children are all already picking up. They already speak fluent English. They're already like pick up their local dialect as well, which is a little bit different. And it's just fantastic. I'd love to be a linguist as well, but unfortunately, the English aren't very good at that.
Well, you do have English. I would say English slang. You know, like Jordi and the Scouse and
we do, and
you have a bit of it.
When when Hideout Festival and those guys come over, there's a lot of Scousers, and Scouse is the only dialect where the Croatians really struggle with.
Really?
What did he say? Yeah, really Scouse. But
well, I'm maybe touring English too much to actually pick up some Scouse. So I can actually understand. And to be honest, the Flemish dialects are much worse.
really,
So you could have each town which would have their own little dialect. So my mom would be from Bilzen and I would be living in Diepenbeek, and these towns are next to each other, and they have totally different words for the same thing, like strawberries. Yeah, it's normally in Dutch, it's aardbeien. Yeah, but then where she lives is ubberen. Yeah, and where I live is jetbies. Yeah, so you have 3 different words for the same.
I totally understand, because here we have Croatian.
Yes.
Then we have, where I live, Navalia. We have the Navalia dialect, which has different words as well.
Yes.
Then you go over to another part a few miles away, and they will have a different dialect. And if you go from one end of the country to the other end of the country,
you can't.
They really struggle to that. They're like, what?
You have to subtitle it.
And it's like the same country. It's like, what?
Are you living in Croatia now?
I do indeed. Yes.
It makes more sense.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to explain, because we haven't actually met. We have met very briefly, actually. At a Clubland event, Eden.
Only thing I notice is a care case in the background. So
yeah. My business partner. Do you know him, Nick Ferguson? From
the name rings a bell. Yeah,
the promoter from Ibiza.
Yeah, that Eden and all that.
Yeah. I'm his partner. In the events, I do the digital side of stuff. We also we run God's Kitchen as well, and we've just launched Ibiza and Birmingham in the last 2 weeks. So it's been absolutely crazy.
Is it AJ?
Is AJ Gibson?
Yeah, is he still? Is he still for that one? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He's a very, very good friend of mine, and I spoke to him a few days ago on the phone.
Yeah.
Actually. So you two know each other then, yes?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
When you're dinosaur, you know lots of people.
I know. You know what? It's a small industry, isn't it? I lived in Ibiza when I was very young, all year round. So I
busy summer and chill winter.
It wasn't a chilled winter. That was the problem. Back then we didn't have social media, and there was no remote work, and there was the only real work was like building or a bit of bar work or that was about it. So you literally spend your entire time in the pub, or and it was just, we didn't really much have much to do, and it was it it, it it used to get parties so much in the winter that when the summer got here, we used to be like, oh God, we've got to do it all over again now. So
Yeah, but you still had the good times. That
that
was
that
good. That was
oh
a
yeah,
good era. That was a good era.
it was a wonderful era, and wonderful friends. I'm still friends with them all today, and we were a lot younger then as well, so we could handle it. When did you first start your music adventure? When did you first start getting into music?
Professionally, 96.
96. And what got you into professional? What were you were you a musician beforehand, or?
What's the best way to explain? So I always liked music, always played music. Started lessons like at 9 years old, and it's a different period. You had to buy your computer, you had to buy the hardware and all that. So,
Yep.
so I was doing like weekend work and all these things to save up some money to buy a extra synthesizer and stuff like that. So I started making demos. Um, the Amiga 500. I don't know if you
I had it. I had one. I had the Commodore.
Yeah, and then you had like the fast tracker on it. Yeah. So you start with that, and then you get your first DAW. I had it on the Atari 1040.
No way.
Yeah.
We're the same era.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. Yeah.
I had the Cubase on that one, and then you had to like
Cubase.
you had to attach a Midax to it, but that Midax was like it's like this big, and you had to like plug it into the side, and then you could attach all the synthesizers. So everybody had a M1. You had to have the M1 because it had the piano and all that.
Yeah.
And then you had to have a sampler, which was so expensive. I had the Emu, Ultra. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to buy 32 megabytes, not gigabyte or anything. 32 megabyte. It was over £1,000 for 32 megabytes. And I was so happy because I could sample, kick and the clap and the hi-hat and they all fitted on it, or because it was 32 megabytes.
Oh my Lord. So and they weren't easy to use either, were they? No, they were. That's
People are spoiled now. People are spoiled because like a lot of synthesizers didn't even have MIDI. So you use the Canton and a world clock, and you would do it on VCR and stuff. So like the Uno 106 and the 303 and all these things you would attach, and you had it like a clock working on it. But it was that change in 95, 4, 5, 6, all that, so you had the JD 800 where they did the Fateless sound on, then they went to the JP 8000, you had the Roland, the racks,
yes.
1080, 2080 and all that. So it started getting a little bit easier to make music with the MIDI and all that, but you still had to connect all this. So I had like big chunks of cables like this plugged back of the mixer. Started with the O2R, the Yamaha O2R, and then went to the Yamaha was it the 2000 DM 2000? So which extended to 96 channels, yeah, and then had all the things in the back. So that was
all the wires.
But I think, look, music has always been difficult to make, yeah, but the difficulty changed where so while, for example, back in the days the difficulty was in having the material and having a studio, yeah, now it's easier to make music, but then it's harder to get noticed because everybody has
music. Yeah.
So there were much less people making music back in the days because it was quite an investment to do it.
A lot less tracks. Yeah, because I remember I went to the bank and I got refused for a loan. I was going to get a £5,000 I asked for. Barclays Bank, thank you very much. And I wanted a £5,000 loan for a studio.
Yes.
And I got turned down, and I was absolutely devastated. And I got turned down twice actually for it.
I can name many banks. I got refused. I got refused by them all. So the only what I could do is I had to just save up money, get the recording, get a deal, and then I got a advance from the label, and then I used that for the studio, to expand the studio and all that.
Yeah.
So I didn't need the loan anymore. So but I did change the bank. I did change the bank, but
I gave up. I gave up. That was, I think, I remember when I got the call that I didn't get the loan, and I was standing on my bed. I remember I was like, oh boy, and that bedroom, I remember that was the last bedroom I ever had in England. I left for Ibiza a couple of months later, and I ended up living there. So it was kind of fate how it all worked out.
Oh no, it's good. No, it's good. Look, it, it there is no like rule book how career goes. Everybody career is different. Everybody's career in music takes
Yeah.
a different path and all that. So me, basically, I wanted to do like you went to SAE. I wanted to go to the high school for music in Hilversum. Yeah, and I did my exams and I passed, so it's like you had to do like a pre-exam, and there was like 800 people and it's 30 that passed, but I had to wait till the next year to start. Yeah. And I was like, I did the maths and I was like, it's actually crazy, you're spending 20, 30,000 a year, just on rent, to study
Yeah.
abroad, to have like a how you say it?
Apartment and your living and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it will cost you 120,000 at least. And after those 4 years, you get a piece of paper.
Yeah.
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 And I was like, is that really what I want? If you want to do a job in official, like the BBC or like, like Sky TV and all these things, I understand you need a degree. But for a record label and to get a record deal, you don't need a degree. Yeah. You just need good music. So I actually made a deal with my mom. I said, look, um, I will not do it, go to the school, and I'll save you 100 grand at least. Yeah. Just give me the peace of mind so I can just do it on my own and build my own studio and give myself 4 years to learn it.
Wow. And you did.
Yeah, within the 6 months, I got the record deal and I got my
Oh,
advance and I got but yeah, but it's uh, I don't know. I wouldn't advise everybody to do it.
well, I'm not sold. I'm not sold. I'm not sold on university nowadays. I think a lot of skills, especially within the music industry, are learned on the ground and
Yes,
just experience. And
yes,
I work in digital marketing, and I know they cannot possibly teach what I know in the university, because by the time you finish the semester or whatever they call it, the algorithm's changed.
yeah.
So how can you just something that's going to be out of date? Is going to be out of date by the time in a year, let alone
You
4.
and to be honest, look, I do understand you need a basic knowledge,
Yes.
and I do think school and university can provide that in certain fields.
Mm.
Yeah. So, for example, if you need to know maths and you need to know algorithms, for example, and you need to know fractals and all that, it's a basic understanding that somebody can teach you. Yeah. But a creative profession where everything is about thinking outside the box, how do you teach somebody? You could teach them to maybe think outside the box, but there's nothing really to teach. So
Yeah. If you wanted to be a doctor of medicine, you need to study medicine.
yeah, that I understand. That totally understand. There is degrees that are very functional. Yeah, like doctor, architect. To know
Engineering and
yeah,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's pretty damn important to
Let me get it right.
have it stable, the house and all that. But when you're talking about making music, about art, like painting, about acting, all these professions, they actually there's no rule book for it, and yeah. So in order to do that, I didn't have to go to school. I just had to just find my own way and do things. So yeah.
Yeah,
So, and I got lucky. I mean, to be honest, I don't even know if I would recommend myself to do it, because it's a bit naive to think, oh, I'll just get my record deal. You know what I mean? So,
It's
but yeah,
self-confidence. And what music were you first producing? What type of genre?
let's say nowadays I make everything, but back in the days, the first three records I done, one was Hard House, which was a big hit in the clubs in Belgium. One was Trance. It's called DJ Santo, which became one of the biggest selling trance records of the year.
Ian Van Dahl.
Santo, yeah, Reaching Into My Brain.
Yeah. Okay. You
I,
you did that.
that's my track too, yeah. That's one of my aliases. Like I said, I have many aliases. So the Reaching Into My Brain.
I had no idea. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And everybody played it, like Armin and Ferry and
I had it on. I had it on vinyl. I had to say, and tell you a true story about this. One of my friends, Dave, he was smoking a joint when we were young, and it used to be Hot Rocks. The squidgy solid, and a little blim dropped off onto the vinyl
yeah,
into the build-up.
yeah.
And it damaged and it skipped. Anyway,
Yeah.
so every time that the build-up come in, it went. I went crazy at him. I was like, that is one of my favorite tunes. And honestly, I remember it was in my bedroom having this huge argument. You know, when you used to have a mix of your mates on your vinyl and everything, we had a huge row over it. Because I told him so many times, stop mixing when you've got a joint in your hand, please. Because
I've heard stories about that.
yeah. Oh, he was terrible for it. And he always did it. And he said, I'll be all right. And he did it. And it's one of my favorite records ever. And it was just like, wow. But that's you, is it? I had no idea. Mind blown. Mind blown.
And then let's see, the third record I signed was Absalom, and it was like Eurodance.
Okay.
And that was like top 10 in Spain, top 10 in Belgium, top 10 in Germany. So it was a pretty big hit. But it's like Eurodance. So
Yeah.
but it didn't do really well in England, because like the Eurodance, like England missed the Eurodance boat like completely.
This is why I
Like,
wanted to talk to you about a little bit as well, which is it's in my questions. But we'll get to that in a second, because I'm really excited about listening about the Eurodance scene.
also, I see, the Pasha behind you.
Yes.
So it reminds me. So I had to play in, because you were telling about the vinyls.
Yeah.
So I had to play in Israel, in Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv, yeah.
So, and so basically, when you play vinyls, like you said, you want to have the mint. Yeah.
Yes.
So what I would do is I would have my mint version ones. Yeah. And then I would go out and see if, like, you like aspiring DJ, they would start DJing, but then after 6 months they were like, oh, it's not for me. Yeah. So they want to get rid of the vinyls. So what I would do, the record label also had a vinyl store. So you would know who the DJs were that's selling the vinyls. Yeah. So I would buy up their vinyls to have doubles.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and there was some guy who played at some like after club, that opened at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I bought like 100 vinyls of him. Yeah. And there was tons of them that were double for mine. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna take those with me. So I bought them, and the next day I had to go to Israel to play at the club. Yeah. So I just put them in the bag and then left for Tel Aviv. Yeah. And then they swapped the vinyls when I got into Tel Aviv, because basically I'm there. On my passport, I had stamps from Qatar and Dubai and all these things, because I was the month before I was there. They don't like that. And, so they see me, they see the passport, they see Qatar, they see Dubai. I'm there with a bag full of vinyls. They're like, what are you doing here? So they swap me. and they put it in the machine,
Mm.
and it lit up like a Christmas tree.
Oh no.
It had everything you could imagine. It had the coke and NDMA and everything. Everything was on it. So, so the thing was, the guy used the vinyls to do his drugs. So,
Course.
and then I didn't. Normally you clean them, all that, but I didn't clean them because I just bought them, put them in the bag, and left. I didn't expect it would be so bad, but yeah.
How did you talk your way out of that?
So I told them, I said, look, it's just the vinyls, and we had to swap section by section. So I got swapped, nothing was there, the bag. So and then they saw that it was only on the vinyls, and it made sense, that it was like that. So it did take me over an hour to get through customs. So
I know some people who've got in a lot of trouble by going across customs with accidentally having something in their pocket if they paid out.
in Dubai with Groove Rider. So
Oh no! Yeah, I remember that story. Yeah, there's a couple of DJs that I know who've got in trouble, just coming in and out of like places like Ibiza, who've literally just forgotten or been given something by people, and it happens a lot when you promote nights or you're a DJ. People give you stuff. That give you stuff all the time, and I don't drink. I'm sober. That I have been for a long time now. But people still give me things, and I just whatever. I just put it in my pocket and whatever. And then when I'm in a taxi home, sometimes I'm like, if there's a checkpoint anywhere, and I'm just like, well, I should have just got rid of it or given it to someone, and you can get in trouble with that easily. But I know people who've gone through the airports and got caught with like half of something in their side pocket or something like that. So yeah, it's yeah, it could be there's a narrow escape.
it's funny, they always because I used to start with the trance music. So in the 90s I did a lot of trance music, and people always said like, oh, if you do this music, you have to be on drugs. You have to be on drugs. So, but actually I never take drugs, never had or anything. So
Wow,
I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, and when I drink, it's very, very limited. It's not the English amount of drinks.
That's why I don't drink anymore. I used to like it too much.
It's
But I'm
actually they do like their drinks.
I can drink. It's the I haven't got another hangover left in me.
Yeah, but to
That's
be honest, in Croatia they know how to drink.
my God, yeah. I mean, I can go to the office studio, wherever, in the morning at 8 o'clock, and they're sitting there having their wine and their whiskeys, and it'll be like Spain. Spain's exactly the same, and no wonder all their buildings are all wonky and stuff like that. And
Fellow Dixter, drink with us.
all the time. They think there's something wrong with me because I don't drink, and I'm just like, no,
If you're sick.
I can't, because like when you go into somebody's house, they always offer you like it's rakia, and
Yeah,
I'm just like, no, oh yeah, and I used to drink a lot of it. I used to like too much of it, and now at last, after almost 7 years, 8 years, they've stopped offering me, but they just trying, they bending my arm. Come on, you must drink with us. I'm just like, no. So how would you describe the European dance scene when you were coming through, when you started producing tracks?
there's like different how you say, directions. So you still had the 90s, you still had the trance, which was like credible. Then you had the Eurodance, which English people would find a little bit cheesy. Yeah. But they still had good track. To be honest, it's funny. Like people made fun of this music in the 90s, and these are the songs that people still remember and still play. Like the Two Brothers on the Fourth Floor, 24/7, Two Unlimited.
It's big now.
Yeah, you see what I mean? They're still performing.
Yeah.
Most of them, like because I do a lot of 90s shows, and I still bump into all of them all the time.
I mean, the UK,
So,
with Clubland and brands like that, they're all playing Eurodance, and they're lapping it up. I mean, stadiums full. You couldn't do that in the 90s.
no, and that's
How weird.
Yeah, it is weird. It is weird that it was never popular in England, and then now it is. So, but I'm not complaining.
No, no, I'm a very retro guy. I like my high energy sort of stuff, trancey sort of stuff. I like deep house. I like techno. I like a bit of everything. Drum and bass as well. You know, I'm a big fan of pretty much everything. So, when did we discuss your name to start with? When did that Ian Van Dahl project first start?
End of '99.
End of '99. And that was a project. Yes, that was a project, and that project created Castles in the Sky.
Yes.
Yes, and did you expect that tune to blow up as much as it did?
Music is a weird thing.
Mm.
So basically, the Ian Van Dahl I've done with Eric, who was my neighbor, but actually literally my neighbor. He was on the other side of the road. And he said, you probably don't know I make music, but I know you make music because I can hear it. That was the introduction. Um, but yeah, the thing was, before the Ian Van Dahl, I had like, so the DJ Jan, Asterline, Absalom. So I had several aliases that done really well. Yeah. So you have some kind of confidence that it will be all right, being with the major label and all that stuff, that that if you have a song that's decent, there's possibilities. Yeah. But you can never tell
Yeah,
how
yeah.
it, because it's like it's a ball that rolls and you never know how far it rolls, because you can say, well, it's immense popular, but it could have been more and it could have been less.
Yeah.
So, for example, the story is, so originally 2000 was finished. 2001 got the release, for example, in Germany. Yeah. And that did a first like little peak. Yeah. But it was only until that song from 2001 released in Germany on Those Who Die was played in Ibiza, and then the people from Ibiza took it back to England, where Dave Pierce signed it and then released it in 2002. That gave another peak, yeah, and that was the one that long. So if Dave Pierce didn't sign it, it would have been like, say, a club hit, yeah, because he signed it. Other countries like Australia, for example, they would say, "Oh, if England signs it, I will sign it." So because of England signing it and it being in the charts, yeah, it charted in many other countries. Yeah. So you could say, well, that's the peak. Yeah. But then, for example, at a certain moment we had what's his name? Martin Dodd. I don't know if you remember him from Sony, Britney Spears manager,
Okay.
who said, I actually want to sign this record. Yeah, and I want to release it worldwide. But I need Sony from all over the world to be behind me to do it. Yeah. So if all the Sonys were agreeing with it, yeah, it could have been, we could have been on the same roster as Britney Spears, and who know how big it could have been. So, music is like, it could be. So I'm very happy about the success it has, and it still has,
It's still huge.
major airplays, and I got
Yeah.
streams and all that, so that's good. And yeah, what if I try to not think too much about the what if, so it could have been less, it could have been more, but I'm quite happy with how it is. So but it was a struggle. Like, for example, I mentioned when I gave the record to the label, they said it's not really the time for trance, vocal trance, house music is doing well, like groove house. Why don't you make a couple of those tracks? Yeah. And then they still put it on a sampler. The label would put out samplers to send out to, like Popcom and
Yep.
AD and all these things. But I still have the CD, and on the track listing is like on the bottom, which means, I don't believe that much in it, and then I saw that the first 10 records, none of them got signed. Yeah. So, which means like they weren't really, doing the right thing.
It's a lottery, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lottery.
It's a lottery, yeah. I mean, I've got a lot of friends who are producers, and I've spent quite a lot of time in studios.
Yeah.
And I speak a lot about music, and sometimes they'll say, "Dex, listen to," when I lived in Ibiza, especially, "listen to this new tune," and 'cause there's quite a few studios in Ibiza, and I'll be like, "That is amazing. That has got to be a tune of the summer for me," and then I'll never hear it again. It's just like, because I don't know why, it just didn't get picked up, and then I
Well,
hear about really popular songs. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but they were released a few years before, and then the momentum starts years after
yeah.
they've been released as well,
Yeah.
which is another crazy phenomenon. I don't know, do they get re-released or?
Think the Ducci one or something with the remake of Gautier. That was 2 years after actually the release.
Was it really? Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard of some others as well. I'm not sure.
And now it's the Kato one. You know the Kato that's now the the meme where he's like the
Yeah.
ooh, there's like bring me the light or something. What is
Yeah.
it? Yeah,
So
that's 15 years old.
do they get re-released, or is it just
No,
get
no, it's
luck?
it
Luck
got
again.
it get picked up for like a TV series or something. Like Kate Bush, running up the hill because it got into what is it, Stranger Things?
Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Went number one.
it went number one, which is so yeah.
Music is a funny creature.
I wouldn't
Pretty much.
mind going back in the charts. So uh,
I tell you what, I mean, I want to be corrected here, but somebody told me many years ago that higher state of consciousness was around for quite a while before it went.
the Wings.
You know, Josh Winks, yeah.
Yeah,
Someone told me that that was released before, and it took quite a while to pick up momentum, but I don't know whether that's true or not. So maybe we'll have someone who's listening on here that will put me right. But
no, but
it's obviously a classic now.
yeah.
So, but yeah, I've heard that about a couple of tunes, but my memory is not the best. So did when that tune took off, did anything change for you? Did any more doors open for you with that track?
I think it's maybe weird to say this, but the
The reverse.
with success always comes mixed feelings. So it's maybe weird to say this because people always, in a way, people say, oh, that they have a picture about what success is,
Mm.
and they're like, oh, I'll work really hard, then have a hit record, and then everything's gonna be fine, yeah. But you'll still have problems and you still have issues, it's just different issues. So um it's maybe an age thing, because when it happened, I was pretty young.
How
Yeah.
old were you, if you don't mind me asking?
Well,
Just roughly. You don't have to give your age.
when I got signed, I was 19 and already had chart, top tens when I was 19. So I didn't have any youth. So from that day, I was already touring. Yeah. So I had a different, but you also had the constant pressure. So I'll give you an example to give the reality check of success. Yeah.
Please.
So Ian Van Dahl, Castles in the Sky gets released. Yeah. New Life, Dave Pierce label. Yeah. They expect to do well, but not really sure how well it will do in the charts. Yeah. So I get a phone call from the label, my label, and they're like, Chris, you know what? We done it. We're number 5 we got in at number 5 in the charts, in the UK charts. It never been done like that with this type of music or whatever. Yeah. So congratulations. Yeah. And then his next sentence was, I need this new single next week.
Expectation. Pressure.
That's it. It was like, okay, yeah, one happy moment, like, yeah, and then it's like back to reality. And it was like that week after week, month after month, year after year. So, and it was always a struggle. The problem was when you do the first records, they're like, oh, we'll see what happens. Yeah. Then it becomes a hit. And then all of a sudden they know how it works, yeah, while they never thought it would happen. They think it works like that. So then they're like, can you make exactly the same one as that one? And I'm like, yeah, but nobody's waiting for exactly the same one. You need to do something else, which is still also cool. Yeah. So from the struggle to have the first release comes the struggle to have the second release, because they wanted exactly the same as the first one, but not different. And I said, I don't want that. I want it to be completely different. And one luck that we had is we had to do Viva. It was like the German MTV. And they said, you have to do 2 songs. I said, yeah, can I do Castles and then a remix? And he said, no, you have to do 2 different songs. Yeah. And because of that, on the same day, we make the demo. Yeah. And then we just added that one to the track. Yeah. And then send it off to Germany. Yeah. And that actually done well. And that's Will I. But that's just because we had to do it. But then again, the label didn't like it. Yeah. Until the German label said, hey, you know, that second track they played, they actually had better success than the first one. We want to do that one. So it was because of luck that I got that one. Yeah. And then when I did Reason, yeah, I gave the first original one, and I went to the label and they said, it's too simple, you know, because it's just like do, 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 do. So it's F, F, A, A, G, very simple chords, you know, the riff. And they're like, this never gonna work. It's too simple. Yeah. I did 28 versions, 28, for them to come back to me and say, you know what, we're gonna take the first version. Yeah. So that shows you how much all these labels know. They know absolutely nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that was the constant struggle that you had with the labels, who, for some reason, just bumped into success and then think they are the ones doing the records. So, and that's the life of somebody. I'm luckily the times have changed. So now, because of social media, because of TikTok and all these, a lot of artists have their own like bubble where they are in control.
They can
So that's the
self-promote. Yeah.
so that's the positive side. Yeah. So it's less than, but there's still the pressure from if you sign with a label, with a major label. My life, it's probably the life that all the other ones have.
Yeah.
So that things are decided above your head, you know, by people who think that they know, that they, know everything, but actually don't know
It's
much.
just managing expectations. And yeah, you're so right when you just touched on something there, that you get that moment of success, like, yay, and then it's like, now you got to do it again, right? Because we have that as a promoter. We have that because, say we do Kevin and Perry, or we do God's Kitchen, or we do another event or something like that, and the event goes amazingly well. Within a week, 2 weeks, we got to go again, and the same struggles start again. Booking the artist, when are we going to do it? Money, finance, artwork, everything, and it's just like, and then that buzz just goes straight away, and the stress begins again. And then when the tickets go on sale, that's another, oh, here we go again. And you're checking all the time, finances and money, profit and losses. And it's just like that level of that feeling of success is
Yeah.
very short-lived.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, although it was very successful, and although I sold tons of records, millions, it wasn't my most fun time.
That's fair enough.
I have to be honest. And I not about like my colleague, not Eric, and all these people. They were okay, but like it wasn't complete. It wasn't like how I expected success to be or feel like. It's maybe also because back in the days I was more in the studio than on stage. Yeah, so you already don't feel the success. You don't get the rewards from the crowd and all these things. You're just basically locked in your little box.
Yeah, and they let you out.
Yeah, because the problem was, when I did the Ian Van Dahl, I also did the other project, Didi, which also worked really well. So I had to do also her new other singles. So yeah. And then the label said, yeah, but you should focus on the music and all these things. But I have to be honest, it wasn't. Yeah, I'm happy about the success, and I'm fortunate about it, and I'm very I appreciate all these things, but I can't say it was my happiest period in my life. I mean,
Okay.
maybe not personally, but like professionally. Yeah. For example, like DJ Sammy, yeah, said to me, Chris, do you want to make a remix for me? I got this track and I really like it. It would be nice for you to do remix. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And it was heaven. And I started making the remix. I went to the label, and then the label said, no, you're not allowed to do this remix. It's just a cover, it will never do well. And it's decisions like that. I had it all the time. I made a deal with EA Sports, which got FIFA, and the label said to me, there is no money in gaming.
Oh my God, there's no money in gaming.
Yeah, there's no money in gaming. I said, you're whack if you think there's no money in gaming. It's gonna outgrow the music industry, and it's gonna outgrow the film, and it's gonna outgrow the film industry. Games will cost more than films, and they thought I was mad. And so so if you have ideas and you have you've been creative, but not the recipient of these creations is not mutually enthusiastic about these things, and then you have these plans, and they're like, no, we can't do this, we can't do this, we can't do this. Then yeah, then it's frustrating. So, and that's why, yeah. And then they forgot to pay me my royalties and all that. So on top of that, I had to sue them too. So yeah, trust me, this is not the best life. And maybe, like I said, it's an age thing. Like now I'm older, yeah, and I'm basically on top of the pyramid because I control everything I do myself. So I just do my own gigs. I do my own bookings. I do my own productions. I do my own deals. I work, I do basically in the weekend I play, and during the week I'll do music, write, music and do sessions. Yeah. But I do whatever I want, and only the ones I like. Yeah. And I feel much happier now than I ever had. Maybe I'm not in the charts, that high, or I'm not, it's not the big fame as back in the days, but I have a much better life.
But you've learned the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've learned. But another thing that keeps coming up in these podcasts, I speak to a lot of people from our era. There was never really a roadmap from like the 90s. It was a quite difficult period to navigate, because a lot of this was all new as well. So you being especially young as well and having early success, probably easy to manipulate as well. And yeah, and they take advantage.
Yeah, but no, the worst part is yes and no. So you would say, he's a kid and all that stuff, and easy to manipulate. But I have to be honest. One, I learned law, music law. Yeah. So I study it, to know about what I'm signing. Yeah. My contract, yeah, is airtight. Yeah. I
Good.
promise you, it's airtight, and they still managed to screw me.
Unreal one.
And that's it. People think, you have to be stupid, and then they're gonna mess with you. But even if you are well prepared, then they're still gonna mess with you.
I totally agree.
that's the whole p- people. I don't know how to explain this, but the people think, oh, if you do everything right, the outcome will be right. But it's not in the music industry. That's not true. You could do everything right and still end up a loser. Yeah. So I'm still suing labels. I'm suing. I have. If I had how you say it. I had a meeting to settle things. Yeah, and the whole room was filled with lawyers and labels. Yeah, I had Warner, I had Sony, I had EMI. All of them were there because they all screwed me, and I sued them all. Yeah. So, and my contracts were airtight. That's because that's the only reason I'm still in the lawsuit. Because if they weren't airtight, they could have, messed it. How you say it? Get away with it. Yeah. The fact that I'm able to sue and win, I won every court case I've done. Yeah, is because the contracts were tight. Yeah, but they still didn't pay me. You know what I mean?
So they'll still try it. They'll still try it.
They'll still
Yeah.
try it.
Yeah, yeah.
So even if you have everything right, they'll still try it.
You'd have a lovely conversation with my business partner, Ian Clifford. He is ex now music lawyer.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of music law for artists that we know at the moment. I won't mention any names, but very well known
Yes.
lawyers now.
And, one of my lawyers is Paul Spraggan. So
Yeah.
he done Adele and all that. So
Wow. Yeah. It's just the thing is he will say the same thing, that even if you do things right, because I sent a contract over to him the other day, and it was just like, you can't use that word because that word would affect the future of this contract. I'm just like, what? He goes, it's just even the phrasing of it. Yeah. And so it's just, yeah, but he said, even if law's a weird thing, and then they'll drag you through the courts because it'll cost you money. And these are big, powerful companies, and they'll try it because they'll try and stretch it out over time, and it costs a lot of money.
You tell me.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
No,
I have
I because that I 100% agree with you.
I have a lot of conversations like this with Ian. He's no longer a music lawyer.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he particularly liked the goings on within the industry. He's now
The problem is look, if it was 5,000 or 10,000 pounds, yeah, you can't. Well, it's still injustice, but it's not even worth fighting for.
no, and they know that.
But if you've done over 100 million compilation CDs, for example, and 10 million albums and singles and all that, the amount of money they owe you is so large that you have to, even tossing 100,000 added on lawyer fees is still worth it.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And
So,
you
and I do like to mess with them. I do like to be the small one who wins against them, and that's why.
so you've got the stomach for a fight, yeah?
Yeah, until now I won everything. So I won the whole court case.
Good on you. Good on you.
So,
Because this is it. A lot of the time they think that they try and scare you off with their and it's really cool because again I bring out Ian. He goes no, he's always got that real grit for a fight. He goes, if you want to go head to head with me, I'll quite happily go head to head with you in court. And he's been to court and won against one of the biggest bands in the world as well. So on 2 or 3 occasions. So you two would have a great conversation.
I had the boss. I think is EMI. Well, it's publishing, but it's EMI, and the boss came all the way from Amsterdam to meet me. Yeah, to scare me.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, you just sat in the car for 2 hours to get here. Yeah, I said I already won. I said, because if you were so confident about winning, you wouldn't even move outside your office. I said, the fact you came all the way here is you're gonna lose. I said, just take it back and just drive back. So, but thank you for confirming it.
God. Have you got anything? Have you cleared everything now, or are you still
Oh,
fighting?
it's still going. It's still.
Oh.
But they were ordered to pay money, and it's on lock accounts and all these things, so it's okay. That will cover the bills for now.
Oh, good.
So
Well, good luck to you. Good luck to you,
yeah,
because I am aware of some of the things that go on. Let's go back to the European club and the European Eurodance. Um, why don't you think it took off in the UK at that time when it was so big in Europe? Was it-
because there were no UK bands that did it. Maybe.
Yeah, because I was. What years was it? Was it like because it was hard house, then the trance come over, but it was very much like the hard Tony DeVitt sort of era, that hard house sort of time,
Yeah, but
wasn't it?
I think England was in that era.
Yeah,
While I think it started 92, 93, with the Two Limited.
yeah.
Yet the 24/7, Two Brothers on the Fourth Floor, Capella, the La Bouche, Snap. So some of them went to England, but lots of them didn't.
I remember Two Unlimited being in
Yeah.
the charts. I remember Snap being over.
But those
But
two did all right.
yeah, they did.
Two Brothers and 24/7 and all these E-Type,
No.
all these things never done. While I just did a tour in Scandinavia with E-Type and all that and Basic Element, and they are huge.
Yeah.
Like Ultrabeat here is what they are there.
So that'd been about 93, 92, something like that.
Let's see. E-Type, I would say second part of the 90s.
Yeah, because I remember Two Unlimited from early
That was
90s.
earlier. That was
Yeah. That I remember them being in the charts. I remember where I was living when I first heard them.
that started all the rest. That started the Capella, that started the Two Brothers, that started the Ice MC, Melody MC. So that was all like, yeah, bubbling up like 94, 95, 96. And then from that came the Eurodance that we did. So the Absalom, Australine, what is it? Milk Inc.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to be doing all weekend, all Christmas? I'm going to be listening to this.
King is Walk on Water. Walk on
Yeah, of course I know.
Oh yeah, that was like the late 90s. So there was a Belgium vibe, and these were all these you had Kira, Milk Inc., Fiocco, but the thing is, all these names don't ring a bell if you're not in Europe. If you don't,
Yeah.
like, I have no idea what it is.
No.
All these tracks were all top tens in Belgium. They were all top tens in Spain, for example. I had like maybe 12 top tens in Spain, all with the Eurodance things. And that's why I was still able to perform there.
You torn.
With these,
When did you start going into the performing part of the? Because a lot. So you were the producer first, then DJ, performer, correct? Like a lot of people were. And so when did you start moving over into that performing?
It was a bit mixed because I started in 96, but then like the Ian Van Dahl stuff, because of Annemie, the singer, she would then do all the shows as Ian Van Dahl. That's one of the things that happens when you're a kid. Yeah. The label then says, yeah, but we need the girl to do it so she can be the face and all that.
Beautiful.
Yeah. But the only reason they said it's not because of the face, is because they had a direct contract with her.
Yeah.
So they would make more money if she does the shows than if I do the shows. Plus, they don't want me to have any, the least amount of power for me is better for them, in order if it comes to a struggle. Yeah. So
What an industry we work in. I always say is this and fashion.
I do have to put a disclaimer. I don't hold a grudge, right? And like I'm not ranting here.
No.
I mean,
It's refreshing because it's true.
I don't use this to rant and to say, oh, you're all bad and all these things. I'm just saying, I'm just giving an honest view on behind the scenes of success and the troubles in the music industry. Because the problem is, social media, for example, is a good news show, yeah, and everybody is the best, and everybody has the nicest things and the best studios and the best shows, and everybody's constantly happy, and you know what I mean. They're with their wives on the pictures, but you don't know that they beat them up the day before,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm just giving the reality check, the view behind the scene, that even success, the thing is, everything comes with consequences, yeah, and people think that being famous, for example, or I want to be famous, yeah, the problem is, I want to be famous is not good enough, and most of people are not mentally mature enough actually to be famous. That's the reality. Most people don't have the capacity to be famous, because it's hard to deal with fame. It's hard to deal with money. It's hard to deal with all these things. You have to maneuver between all these things. I'm just being honest about it. I'm being honest that I'm saying, well, success is not all that. Like, look, if you're not happy poor, you're probably not going to be happy rich,
yeah.
because it's a mental thing. You have to be
Absolutely.
you have to be happy poor. You'll be good when you're rich.
This is what I try and teach my children. They never ask for a lot, and they're just happy because we live on a beautiful island, and they can play in the, and it's just like we walk out, we've got the beach there, and it's just the simple life, and we're happy from that. Um, but you're so right. I mean, when you get more well known, and your name crops up, then you've got to deal, especially nowadays, with the online sort of stuff. You got to be really thick skinned, because then you get all the trolling, and then you get all the that's that, and it's some sort. No matter what you say,
And
it can get to you.
you type the wrong word. Look, I'll give you an example. In Belgium, there is a football coach, yeah, and he's the coach of South Africa, but he's a Belgian, yeah. And basically, he said, "Oh, this black guy, he's gonna walk in, yeah, black, and he's gonna walk out white, yeah." So that caused so much trouble, yeah, because
Did.
they said it's racist. The thing is, in Belgium, yeah, in Flemish, because he's Flemish, yeah, if you say, hij komt zwart binnen, hij gaat bleek uit, yeah, it's a saying, which means he's gonna be pale because of the how you say it. I'm gonna be angry at him, yeah, and that will make him pale and be scared about what I said, yeah. And what he done is he just translated it one on one in English, but it doesn't work, yeah.
Yeah, I get
But
it.
this person is no racist at all, but because he translated it one on one, it sounds different than what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So as a Flemish person, I can understand, and I was in South Africa. I know it's an issue, but this person is very open minded and has absolutely no negative feelings to any kinds of anything. It was just a translation issue, yeah. But that's something that nowadays with social media gets how you say it, like blow up so much.
Again,
While there was actually just basically
an accident.
an accident of translation.
I can totally identify with that, because obviously I've got a lot of Croatian friends, and they speak in Croatian, and Facebook does the automatic translation.
Yes.
And sometimes I read it, and it's like, your mother spoke to the goat, and it's a completely wrong. Yes, the translation. And I'm like to my friends, and what's this? And they were, oh my God, it was translated into that. It actually means this.
Yes. And if you speak different languages, you notice it even more. Because I speak French with my father,
Yeah.
and Dutch with my mom and with the kids, and then English with my girlfriend, and I even have problems translating and all that, because there's still things stuck, like we say on the sofa. It's on the sofa. Yeah, but in Dutch it's in the sofa.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. I know we have
Stupid things like that.
we have that at home with our children. Our children do the Croatian version of English,
Yeah.
and it's ran the wrong way. But it's quite cute. It's quite cute, really. It's just like, oh,
Yes.
bless. But it's amazing because they start off in Croatian and finish in English, or start off in English and finish in Croatian, and just like it's like, wow. I wish because they're like sponges, aren't they? And they just take all
Yes.
these languages in. But yeah, no. I hope the was it a Football Manager? You said, was it?
Yes.
Did he go? Did it all work out okay?
I don't know. I hope for him.
Yeah, so do I. So do I. So when did you get involved? Obviously, I've seen you a lot through our work at Clubland. When did you get involved at Clubland? That wasn't that was last. How many years ago was that?
Maybe 8-9 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. And have you done quite?
Look, basically, so what happened is, like I said, you have the label that says, "Oh, we want to promote the singer," and so she done all the shows. But at a certain moment, so I sued the label and all that. And at a certain moment, you're like, okay, why is everybody else, using your creativity to make money, and you're the one, left out with nothing? Because they do the shows, yeah. And although I agreed that I would get percentages of it, I never got any dime of it. So basically, they pocket all the shows, yeah. The royalties weren't paid, yeah. So I'm left with nothing while everybody's cashing, but I'm the one who made everything, yeah. So
Playing wrong, isn't it? I'm wrong.
So then you have to say, okay, now I'm gonna take matters in my own hands, and so that's why I just said, okay, now I'm just gonna I'm gonna take everything back, what's mine, and control it, and then make it right,
Yeah.
because it's yeah. Oh, the thing is, when people say, I didn't like that show too much, and you know what I mean, like, what's the best way to say it? Nobody has a passion than you have yourself about your own babies.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like-
yeah.
Like, if you're the one who created everything and made it and all that, you're the one who knows how to deal with it. Other people just see it as a way to make money. Like management and the label, they never made the tracks. They got it thrown on their laps, and they're like, "Oh, that's nice. Let's make money on it." But they don't have that same feeling about the track that you have. They don't have that passion.
The passion. Yeah.
So the only way to give it back the passion that it had is just to do it myself. So
Good on you. Good on you. Because no, we've been through a few battles in the last few years ourselves. I won't get into them, but yeah, that's not nice. It's not, and a lot of it, most of it comes down to pure greed.
yes,
Pure greed, and then, like, I'm passionate about what we do, and I always used to get told off by my business partners about overspending and not really worried about the profit. Just like, I just want to make the best party possible for the people, and just make it as crazy as possible. And then I get, but you got to think about making a living as well, So yeah, I totally agree on that.
It's unfortunate that it's probably, look, it's in society, it's more now than back in the days, but I feel like in the music industry it's even enlarged, or how do you say, magnified.
Yeah.
So I think the music industry it's a magnified result of what society is, because the greed around there, it's ridiculous compared to. I think it also has to do with law and all that. So, for example, if you're in a factory, yeah, you have all your worker laws, and you have your agreements with workers, and you have, like, how you say it, like, responsible
Trade unions and
trade
things like
unions.
that. Yeah.
So basically if somebody bullies you or something happens, you can go to the trade union and it gets sorted. Yeah. But in the music industry, that it doesn't exist. Yeah. And the problem is, if you are here, the money is here and it has to go through somebody else before you get it. There's always gonna it's gonna stuck there. You know what I mean? And what made me realize, being in the business so long, is the it's you have on one side the creative person who is very creative, but most of them are not really good with numbers.
Yes.
They are for the passion. And then on the other side, you have the sharks, and basically say, okay, everything that we can get off them, we'll get off them. Yeah. And they have to work together, but one abuses the other so much, it's ridiculous. My label, I know one of the DJs and producers who are working there. He went to complain about not getting money and all these things. Where's my royalties and all that? And then the label guy had a jacket, a leather jacket, and he said, "Hey, fit this jacket. Oh, that's nice. You know what? You can have that jacket." Yeah, and the guy was happy and he left. Yeah. But the 100-pound jacket, he was able to get away with embezzling I don't know how much money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird. I'm watching a Netflix documentary about a certain rapper at the moment.
Yes, that's what I want. Well, and to be honest, that's how it works. Yeah, that's how it works.
And I watched episodes 2 and 3 yesterday, and
Yes.
and what wasn't paid, and it was just like, what?
Yes.
And how he got there, and he couldn't actually perform that well, and it's just, I never knew any of this.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, and this is how it works. You do a tour. Let's say I'm doing a tour in Brazil. Yeah, the booking agent and the label work together. Yeah, what's the easiest way to do? They go to Brazil and they say, okay, we'll ask you 10,000 a show. Then they go to the artist and they say, hey, we got you a good deal. We got you 3,000 per show. They do 10 shows at 10,000. They make 100,000, but they say they only made 30. So they pocket already 70,000. And then on the 30,000, then they're going to say, we need our 15% booking fee or 20% booking fee, and then also a 10% or 20% management fee.
Yeah.
So on the 30,000, they again take half of it. So you're left over with 15,000 while they pocket 85,000. That's what the business is.
Yeah. No, I'm looking after a couple of DJs at the moment, and we're trying to be as promoter friendly and agent friendly as possible and transparent as possible, because I just find it quite sickening seeing some of the things that have gone on over the years. And there's a couple of DJs that have popped up on my radar over the last couple of years, and one of them in particular I've started to look after. And I'm not being shady with her at all. I'm just being absolutely down the line, straight, transparent. This is it. And because I think she's got such potential. But and another reason why I picked her up was because she's such a lovely girl. And I was like, some shark is going to swim in and take advantage of her, and I could see it already happening. I could see them circling.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh no. And there was just something in the back of my head saying, help her out before someone comes along and fucks her over,
The problem is that they use the dream to abuse.
A carrot.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Dangle it in front of them.
Like, you want your record deal, so you sign anything.
Yeah.
But it's the worst deal ever.
Yeah.
And I told this to some friends. They're like, "Oh, can you check this contract?" And I said, "This is horrible. That's not even bad. It's like horrible." And he says, "Yeah, but I'm gonna sign it anyway because, at least I'll have a release." I said, "Look, if you have a release and it's successful and you make zero money on it, it's gonna stick, like how you say it, it's gonna hurt even more."
Yeah. Do you know what, Chris? This is not the first time on my podcast that someone has said exactly the same thing. that somebody has read a contract for someone and said, don't sign it, for God's sake, don't sign it. I think one of the other people that I spoke to said, if you sign that contract, you won't be able to use your artist name anymore. And I was like, what? She goes, you will not be able to use that artist name that you have anywhere else except if you work for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's some of the stuff that as I say, my partner's a music lawyer, so it's just very, very difficult industry when it comes to.
Imagine you have a 20% royalty rate on streams, and then they do a sub licensing within their own country to their own label, So you know what I mean. So they done it to me, and I had it in my contract. No sub licensing within their own country and their own label,
and then they ignore it. Yeah,
they still done it. They still done it. They cream up 20% of all the money I ever made. Just that 20% already is a ridiculous amount. Then I had a zero deduction on remixes and videos. Because look, when you negotiate. So I'm like, look, I have my own studio. Nobody has their own studio. I know music. I'll give you the music finished. The music and the remixes and everything. The whole thing. You don't have to invest any money. So if I'm doing that and I'm giving you the master, I'm not asking advances, and you get some of the publishing, I need something in return. So I don't want any deductions.
Yeah,
I signed it. It's in the contract. 0%. It's in the contract. So when I sued them, just on deductions, it was 600,000 euros.
My
Just on
Lord.
videos, 600,000 euros just on videos. Not even 50%. They deducted it 100%. And then when I was in court, and I told them, I said, look, you deducted everything. Yeah, but that's how it works in the music industry. I said, well, why do we need contracts? Yeah, but you make good money. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't know there was a cap on the amount of money I could make.
Mind-blowing, isn't it? Absolutely mind-blowing. Do you know what? This has been one of my interesting podcasts I've had, because you've been absolutely just totally honest with me. And I love that. And it's been actually completely the opposite. I thought we were going to be talking about castles in the sky and this and that. We've actually got to. No. Let's keep on going.
The problem is I've done that 100 times. That I'll probably have the same 10 or 15 questions usually for most people. But most people know about that thing. But how we say it? It's maybe not it is personally related, but it relates to everything in the music industry. So even somebody who doesn't know me or doesn't follow me, will still know about the music industry. You know what I mean? With the things
Really important. Yeah.
So, and I think that's important. I think Spotify, for example, it's nice, but people do relate too much, on it, and it's being abused so much, Personally, it would be ideal for artists to just join together and just make their own platform, and take matters into own hands. So, the music, the problem is, like I said, when you have creative people and you have sharks and you put them together, it's not.
Why do you think there is no trade unions as such in music? I've heard of people mentioning this before, and you always get it will never work. There'll never be like a trade union. There isn't any sort of trade union, is there?
Well, in a way, PRS and all that.
Yeah, I was about to bring them up.
They would like manifest themselves as protectors of of the creative people. But then I wonder, if you really protect us, why you sign these deals with the big labels and with TV and with
It's
mixed feelings. Let's say it like that.
okay. And let's just circle back with the modern day gigs and everything. Obviously, we do a lot of classic events, in Ibiza, and classics is just blown up, especially in the UK, and in Ibiza. We do our events are hugely popular. Are you finding that's happening in Europe as well?
I think it's a bit of a mix of things. So one has to do with identity. Yeah. So let's say you have a new DJ. Yeah. From most new DJs, which original song do you know of them?
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest issue. The problem is, let's say I'm 18 years old, 20 years old, and I'm like, oh, I want a career in music. Yeah. I have an attention span of a goldfish. Yeah. Because I want to be in the studio. I have 2 hours before I have to go to gym. Yeah. So I have 2 hours and I need to have a hit in 2 hours.
Yes.
So you're in the studio, you have 2 hours, you say, okay, I know this old song. I'm gonna remake that old song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I can get this done in 2 hours, so I can still go to the gym. I'll do some Instagram
Content.
and content, and I'm good. I have the content in the studio, I have the content in the gym, and I can announce where I'm playing and all that, and I'm good. Yeah. The problem is, if you redone, I say, Age of Love, yeah, and you done it, people still know it's Age of Love from Age of Love. If you say, I'm gonna remake Rhythm as a Dancer, yeah, in 5 years, if you say Rhythm as a Dancer, they're gonna say, yes, Snap. Yeah, they're not gonna name the DJ who done it. They're not gonna name the DJ who done is Age of Love. They're gonna name the original artist. Yeah, so all these artists today, it's cover, one after the other, one after the other. They have absolutely zero identity. What is them? There's nothing that's them, because everything they've done is old school records, and it's not even in one genre. It's like one is this, then it's Venga Boys, then it's Cascada, then it's like there's no silver lining. So this DJ does any style of music between 120 and 150, yeah, and it's all remixed from old songs. They have absolutely no identity. Yeah. And the only reason why most DJs now are very popular is because they have a huge amount of PR and promotion being done, and their shows are there to watch, not to listen, but to watch.
Yeah.
And then you go to, what's it called? Anima? Is it Anima? What's it?
Anima. Is this a show? It's not even a party, is it?
You go to Anima, people go to the show, they held up their phone because it's a nice show, and they go home, and if you ask them, which song was your favorite song?
No.
People don't, they're like, yeah, the one that goes, every song is like that. You know what I mean? It has no identity, and then but it has 100 million streams. Yeah, it has 100 million streams, but that doesn't mean anything. And there's songs that I have 100, 200 million streams, nobody even know, just because they are in the right playlists.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot more to figures and data.
Yeah.
And the dark side of data.
And the ones who do their own songs, these are the ones that are, like a Calvin Harris, he still have some legacy that is built. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing these years, he has built some legacy. Even like David Guetta still does like a lot of covers, but he also still have some own songs.
Yeah.
But most of them have absolutely no identity, and that's what's wrong with. So if you have to pick between somebody who's playing old songs in a new jacket, or you're gonna see the original artist, then maybe it's nicest to see the original artists. And that's why these 90s and 2000 shows work. Like I was in Finland. I just came back from Sweden on a boat. There was a retro party on a boat, and it was like E-Type and Lasgo and all these things. It works, and it was sold out, and everybody is happy. Yeah, but these are the artists with their original music, the real ones. You know what I mean? It's not remakes, and it's the real artists who are there.
Yeah.
So, and I do Spain. I do all these 90s shows in Spain. So And yeah, I think
I love work.
I don't say that's the only reason, but I do think it's one of the big factors that lots of new artists lack identity. Is just really good marketing.
Tell you a funny story. I was speaking to another podcaster a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about guests. And she's a host on TV as well, and she does a lot of interviews with DJs, artists, whatever. And I say to her, do you struggle with the newer artists for a quality interview? And or would you prefer to speak with someone with 30 years of history who were there from the start, who were one of the originals? All day long, we would go with somebody like yourself who has this huge history, because we find that when people try and push these newer artists onto us, they haven't quite got that story yet or that identity. So there's very little for them to talk about, and we struggle with the interviews.
Yeah, because when you say, let's say they done rhythm as a dancer, what are you going to ask about the song?
Yeah.
How did you come up with it? Well, it was a hit 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and I just redid it. I just put another kick on it, used the MIDI file, and then, you know what I mean? There's no story. While if you done the original song, you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
Like when they ask me about Castles in the Sky, I can say, well, I picked the Yamaha, I think there was a CS1X or the 2X, yeah, and I think sound, it was a pizzicato sound, which was, and I took off the arpeggiator, and it was, that's one. Then I used a Nord lead and the JP8000, and the JP8000 I had to layer it, like, so I can still know how I constructed the song, yeah. So at least I can say something about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. This is why ghost production, I mean, it's so see-through. You only have to ask an artist, how do you make the tune?
Yeah. Just put a piano, I have a piano here. I can, but where is it? I'll show you the piano.
Hey, there it is.
I can play, and I don't. To be honest, I'm worse player than I was back in the days. So when I started making music, I was playing piano like 2 hours a day, but I was playing like technical, so you had to play Bach, Shani, Beethoven, Khachaturian, all these things.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. But the problem is with making music, yeah, you don't play music. You don't play music when you make music. You basically are
making riffs,
and you're trying to find the melody that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So basically, you play with more than one note, but basically it's dumbing down music, yeah. So the technical aspect of it, you lose it. So during the last 30 years, I only got worse at making music.
Yeah, I speak as Amber D.
Amber D, yes.
Amber D from Tidy. She's a classically trained pianist, and she was talking to me. Hold on, I actually spoke to her on the phone yesterday. I get on Amber very well. And she was we have great talks about the music industry, very open as well, like this. And she's been on this podcast, and she now teaches a lot of kids coming through, DJing and production and stuff like that. I've had you for an hour and a half, so that is first.
I was with talking about Tidy. I was with he's not there anymore ish, with Lee Aslam,
yes.
Yeah. So he used to be with Tidy, I think. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, I was really into my hard house, and then I moved to Ibiza right when trance hit Ibiza, and I kind of left my hard house roots back in the UK, and then threw myself into the trance world.
Well, because I do sessions with people, and I got invited by Lee. So at Thai Yard North, they were doing a session. So I did sessions with like Matty Rolfe and was there Symmetric was there, and Shugs.
Yeah, another. I'm just going to end on this. Where are you going now with things? Have you got any new projects, or have you run anything new exciting stuff?
No, I do. Look, the thing is, I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So
Prefer that? Do you prefer doing that?
yes and no.
Yeah.
Look, the problem is, let's say Ian Van Dahl. Let's say I would do a new release, Ian Van Dahl release. Yeah. One, who's waiting for it? And two, everybody's gonna say it's cheap. Like it's an easy way to do stuff. Yeah. Because it has a legacy and it's hard to, like, old school projects in people who have hits 20 years ago and all that, doing it now,
Yeah.
it doesn't work. There's like,
You have real integrity. I really think so. That's what's really struck me from this interview. So you're humble and
I'd rather work with people. Look, I'll still make songs, and I don't ghost produce, so I get credited for things. But I'll just, for example, let's say I was in South Africa, so I'm in South Africa. I do shows in South Africa, but I also had some days off, so I arranged that I had studio sessions. So I did 4 sessions with South African artists. Yeah, so which I still have to finish. That's why I was here to try to finish songs. But these will be releases. So I did the tracks with Jack Parrow. I did one with Amy Jones, who did Idols in South Africa. I did Dodo in New York. And so these are all South African artists. So if they have the new single and I do one with them, it's going to be a release. So nobody, well, 99.9% of people will not know that I've done it, but I still get credited, and it's still, how you say it, it's a nice
feeling for you.
A nice feeling. Like, for example, when I was at ADE, Max told me, he's like, David Morales is working on a new album. So I said, I'll get you a demo tomorrow. And I made him a demo tomorrow, and I got nice feedback from David. So I'm now making the stems, so in the hope that he's gonna use it, and it's gonna be one of his
another legend out there. Yeah.
So if I'm able to do these things, yeah, it's a nice way to still be in the industry. And what you do is you climb up that ladder. So basically the songwriting and is a similar industry as the performing industry. You basically are in a session and you have a nice record, and that leads to you being able to, in another session, do in a bigger session, and you go one to the other and the other, So I've done nice sessions. I've done stuff I was in Portugal 2 months ago or 3 months ago with Thomas, who done Drake, Shabuzi and all that. So I'm doing K-pop. I'm hoping next year. Yeah, I'm hoping next year to go in Korea to do sessions in Korea. I'm gonna hopefully do sessions in China with Chinese artists. Yeah, and it's all stuff that people don't know I done, but I still done them. You know what I mean? Like, I have music in film, TV, games. I have over 4,000 songs that have been used in film, TV, and games. So EastEnders, Home and Away, games like what's it called? The popular one, Fortnite. I'm on Traffic Cops, Sky Patrol, stuff like that. So the background music, there's some of my music in it.
Wow.
Yeah, I've done stuff with Shaggy, Lumidi, Scoop, who else? Praga Khan. So I do all these things, but it's more behind the scenes, so people don't
Now
know.
you've seen success. You've been bitten by it as well, and now you found your. Are you happy where you are now, doing what you're doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where you fit. You're comfortable doing this. This is
Look,
what your position.
It's always nicer to have a bigger paycheck for shows and be in sessions, but I'm in a good place because I basically never work, if you know what I mean. Like, if your hobby is your job, you never work a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can do music making during the week. I can music playing during the weekend, and that's it. And then I don't have to worry
Yeah,
about
right.
anything. You know what I mean? So this worse things, you know.
Oh, of course.
Just, I mean, I feel bad for. Look, I always say that, and that's why I also always make time for people when they're at events. You know, the thing is, we don't know how fortunate we are. Yeah, Get, you take it for granted. Yeah, or it's sometimes you lose the the reality. The thing is, most people, how many people have to wake up at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the
That's what I was
morning,
going to say.
yeah, to go into traffic, you know, to get there at their jobs, which they don't like, which they have a horrible boss who abuses them mentally and physically or whatever, you know, to be stuck in traffic on the way back, to go to the Tesco's and all that, to pay for overpriced products, you know, to at 7 o'clock, you know, finally be able to make some food, you know, which you have to be quick, you know, because you don't want to lose too much time, you know, before you have to sleep. Yeah. And then in the morning,
All over
clock
again.
goes over. Yeah. The clock alarm goes and you have to do over again, you know, while I can wake up whenever I want, sleep whenever I want. Yeah. And do whatever I want, you know. So I'm in a fortunate position. Yeah. So when somebody is at an event and just pay 20, 30 pounds, 40 pounds for a ticket, yeah, and is there and they say, hey, can I have a picture? Yes, they can have a picture, you know,
That's a
because
truth.
that's the least thing you can do.
Yeah.
This person has no money, yeah, and then still managed to scrap that money to come and see you, you know. The least thing you can do is give that, you know, respect back to that person.
It's gratitude. I mean, I am honored as well, and blessed that I am allowed to do pretty much what I want to do. In my job, I do have deadlines, as we all do. But I can pretty much do what I do. But before, I hated my job, and I was doing everything I could on the music side to get out of that and not have to wake up in the morning. And so it took me 10 years to get out and be independent within music. So um, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think sometimes people take that for granted as well. We are very
Everything,
lucky.
everything. Like when I do a gig, I make sure that the photographer, that I say thank you to the photographer and to the light and sound guys, because they're always neglected. There's some DJs, there's just s- stuck up DJs. They come in, they yell at everybody because the decks are not 100% how they want it, or whatever, you know, and they think it's like, you know, main character syndrome. It's all about them.
Yeah.
They do their shows and then they leave. Yeah. The sound guy is there. That's the only reason you could play these, you know, the USBs.
My podcast, the podcast, I originally set it up to obviously speak to DJs, but I'm also been speaking to photographers, dancers, promoters, uh, videographers, people who do documentaries on the show, uh, entertainers, all these people that don't really get a mention, you know. And I like to do that. So I'm glad you've just given them a final big up at the end, because it is so important. It is
Oh,
so important. Christoph, I've had you for a long time. Thank you so much for your honesty and you've just showed such integrity through your career. I didn't know any of this. I knew some, but it's impossible for me to know everything about every
no,
guest.
no, no.
And I even do my research. You know, I even do my research, and still, I get surprised a lot. It's by,
Okay.
you
No, that's
know.
good. No, that's good. I think, uh, in a way, that's what you want when you do an interview. Because if you already knew all the answers, there was no point doing the interview.
No, no, and obviously your name has just been around me and my circuit for forever, and I just thought I was really, really happy when you agreed. I was just like, I just had a funny feeling. I just like, would he say yes? Would he say no? And when he said yes, I was like, wicked, you know, and I was really, really happy. I was really, really happy.
People that say no.
Yeah. I just don't get replies. But and some people just say that they're shy of doing things like this, and then they don't want to talk about the old days. They want to be seen as more relevant and more current.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, but we're not. Yeah.
yes, I would agree with that. And then you see, I do get the egos that start coming in, and it's just like. But I tell you what, everyone I've had on the podcast has been great, absolutely great. But and the ones that have turned me down, probably they wouldn't have been great, you know. Who knows? But some people are just like they just don't want to do interviews at all. So
Yeah, no, I think Sash doesn't do interviews. I asked him once, and then he said, "No, I don't do it." So yeah, it's not right.
Yeah,
It's just right.
he doesn't do interviews.
No,
I know Sash because he's played at Kevin Perry a few times.
yes,
And so I've got to know him through that process. Lovely guy, just hanging out in the green room. I had no idea who it was. It was such quiet, just keeping to himself in the green room.
yeah.
And someone just said, "Oh, that's Sash over there." By the way, I was like, "Oh my god!" So yeah, I met him a few years ago. But yeah, he said he's not really an interview type of person. So
I mean, it's good. Everybody's there, right? Look, like the reason I would do the interview more on um to give people an insight, but it's not like an ego thing. Like it's not. I'm not here to say, oh, now I'm gonna promote my new thing, or like
I
it's
don't
the-
do that. If
Yeah.
if someone that contacts me, so they want to promote a new album or sorry, a new song, I won't do it. It's not my thing. You know, it's not what it's about. It's about history and the characters and the business and giving people the chance that make things work, like the entertainers, the dancers, the promoters, the
And maybe it helps.
a platform.
You know what I mean? Like if let's say somebody is wants to have a career in the music industry, maybe it helps that they heard some of the stuff I said, and it helps them to not lower their guards, but also always be
Raising.
cautious. Even if all the settings are correct.
Yeah.
You know?
No.
It's the same with my son, for example. I have a son, the oldest son I have. He's also into the music, yeah, and yeah, I could help him and say, "Oh, I can get you there, and I can get you there." The problem is, if he succeeds, he will never know if it's his success or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I will always support him, and I will check his contracts and all these things. Yeah, but he needs to at least find his way, you know,
Himself.
and
Yeah.
and then earn the right to be in these sessions himself. That people say, "Oh, he's good enough." Then I can put him somewhere. Because
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of lineups which don't look right, and then you find out they're relatives of the promoter, and it's just like
it's
what? It's just crazy.
yeah, I see that almost every weekend. So
Anyway, Christoph, thank you so much.
No worries.
I'll see you in Ibiza.
yes,
Yeah, in September, and all the best with everything. And I love the fact that you've booked in a studio just for the day while you're waiting for your gig tonight in London.
yeah, I'm not lazy at all. I always try to.
That's so cool. That's really cool. Have a great gig tonight, and thank you for agreeing to doing this podcast and being so quick on communicating with me. It's been
No
amazing.
problem. No problem.
Okay, I will catch up with you very soon, and I'll be in touch.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Take care, mate. Bye
Bye, listeners.
bye.